G'day Dark Realmers, it's horror author and illustrator Michael J. Elliott here with you again today. And in this video, I'll be giving you my thoughts on the 2008 movie Asylum. Hey, if this is your first trip to the diaries, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. And if you want to keep up with the best in book reviews, movie reviews, creepypasta and trivia from the world of horror, make sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification and you'll always be up to date. Okay, Dark Realmers, Asylum is another entry in the slasher genre, and I'll tell you why it's good or why it's bad right now. Let's get started. Yeah. Well, Dark Realmers, Asylum is another entry in the slasher genre, and while it's got a good premise, it's really badly executed. We have the main character, who's Madison, and she and her brother have been traumatised by the fact that they saw their father shoot himself when they were children. Now, when Madison's brother was 18, he was at university and he also shot himself. But she decides that she's going back to the Richard Miller University where her brother did this horrible deed just so she can exercise her demons. Yes, I was being sarcastic there. Well, straight away we get introduced into the cast, and aren't they just so different and so original? We've got the nerd whose nickname is String because he does all these wonderful structures with cat's cradles. Then we've got the jock who's big and buffed and blonde and, you know, always cracking on to girls and talking about the size of his cock and, you know, nice tits lady. Then we've got the quiet one who's going through, you know, recovery because she was in an abusive relationship. Now, the premise is that these characters are all enrolled in university and their dormitory was the site of an old asylum. Yes. And in this asylum back in the 30s, a rather nasty doctor used to perform lobotomies on teenagers and conduct other evil experiments. Well, of course, we get the janitor telling the kids, you all be careful, you know, he still roams these halls. Then into the mix comes their dormitory, I suppose you call leader, and he shows them around and says, this door leads to the other part of the asylum that hasn't been modernised yet and hasn't been fixed up for student accommodation. And it's locked at all times and you must never go in there. Oh, so what's going to happen, Dark Realmers? I don't know. Could it be that they maybe, just maybe, go into the old asylum? Yes, you've got it, they do. And they see horrible things, of course. Now, the problem with this movie, Dark Realmers, it is so predictable. It is just so flat and so predictable. Now, two of the characters, the jock and the abused girl, sit down and have a conversation, and they talk about things that they fear. And the jock talks about how he was an obese child coming from an obese family, and he worked very hard to buff himself up, and he, you know, he never had any confidence, and that's why he's a bit of a loudmouth. And the girl talks about how she was in an abusive relationship and she fears him coming back. Well, thank you, scriptwriter. You've just told us how they're going to be murdered. Now, I knew before anything happened that this young buff jock guy was going to be force-fed to death, or his death would involve something to do with food. Okay? And the girl, she was going to see an image of her boyfriend. She was going to be beaten up. I knew that. Okay? Well, the first one to get murdered is Strings, okay? And he finds himself back in his dormitory or back in his old bedroom, and his mother, who was really abusive verbally and emotionally. Oh, did you tell your friends at university you used to wet yourself till you were 13 and things like that? How does he get killed, Dark Realmers? Well, think about the nickname. That will give you a clue. That's what's wrong with this movie, okay? It is so predictable. It is just so easy to work out what's going to happen. Now, this evil doctor has been killed many years ago by his angry patients, but of course they all come, you know, all good villains come back, and he's not quite dead, you know. He haunts these halls and takes young people. So it's very formulaic, right down to, you know, the characters who are flat and one-dimensional. It's also, you know, written in a way. Now, instead of being told what these people's fears were, we should have been shown, you know, maybe with, even if it was formulaic, you know, one of the characters being asleep and having a dream about, you know, like her abusive boyfriend or something like that. But to sit there and tell us, this is what I fear, is just like lazy writing. It just ruins it, because now we know we've already been set up for their method of being killed by this horrible doctor ghost thingy. Okay, so Asylum is very formulaic. It takes a very interesting premise, which is, you know, the old asylum, which is converted into dormitories, but it just becomes a standard teenage, you know, young adult, early 20s, college, whatever, formulaic slasher films. And there's been ones that have done it a lot better, okay, who where the filmmakers have made you know, at least a decent attempt at making the characters interesting. But these are just basic cannon fodder, Dark Realmers. That's all they're there for, okay? We don't have to get to know them, because the screenwriters, you know, worked out they're going to be killed in X order. And of course, you know, it's our heroine who is, you know, is going to escape and all that sort of thing. So look, if you're just looking for a movie that doesn't take too much brain power, that you could sit and, you know, have a few minor jump scares with, then take a look at Asylum. It's available on DVD. I saw it here on my local pay TV television service here in Australia, but I'm sure it's available other places. I have seen it actually, the movie and the trailer is also available on YouTube, right here, Dark Realmers. So that's it for my review of Asylum, Dark Realmers. If I go into it anymore, I'll basically just tell you the plot, because it's one of those standard ones where you don't have to be Einstein to work out what's going to happen, okay? So if you just want a cheap thrill, Dark Realmers, then go for Asylum, okay? All right, Dark Realmers, well, that's it from me, horror author and illustrator Michael J. Elliott. I hope you've enjoyed my review. If you have, please give us a thumbs up. And if this is one of those movies that sort of you enjoy, let me know in the comments. Or what do you find wrong with today's slasher films? Hey, can slasher films be made original again? I'd love to know what you think. Okay, Dark Realmers, well, that's it from me, Michael J. Elliott. And until I see you again next time, stay out of asylums by staying in the light. Bye for now.